Hello and welcome to episode 21 of Gal and Kitten Knittin'. I am your hostess, Gal, also known as Chelsea, or known as Chelsea. As you can tell, my hostess, Kitten, Heather, is not with us today. It's a little difficult for us to get together these days. So I've decided to, with her blessing, to move forward with the podcast, and hopefully she'll be able to come back here and there and we can record together still. So that's what's been going on there. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a 30-something that lives in Oklahoma in the States, so middle of the country. I'm drinking coffee out of my Poly Studios mug today. Probably shouldn't be drinking coffee as it's pretty late, but I recorded part of this podcast earlier today and got taken out of the moment and decided to re-record it with a different camera. So we'll see if this camera brings something new to the mix. This is a new to me camera. It's actually my husband's camera and he's graciously let me borrow it for this, and we'll see if it does a better job than my phone does. So we'll see how that does. I do suffer from bipolar 2, particularly bipolar depression. So it can be very difficult for me some days to get on with living, as it were. And I don't mean that to be so melodramatic. I mean as in terms of just getting one foot in front of the other. It can be a very difficult thing just to get on with the daily living of life. So I have made strides in that regard of late, and I've got multimodal therapy and psychiatrists and doctors on board helping me. So it's a process, but we're working hard to get better. So that's kind of what's been going on behind the scenes, is a little bit of dealing with that, a lot of dealing with that. But we're getting there. We're making strides. So, if some days I seem better than others, that's the reason why. So some days you'll see me with makeup on, some days you'll see me barely dressed. And that's just the way it is. But I will tell you, doing the podcast brings me joy. Being creative brings me joy. So I will probably be talking on here when it's myself alone. You will probably hear me talking about my knitting, my spinning, because I do spin, hand spin, both spindling and machine spinning. And I do cross stitch as well. Haven't gotten into crochet yet, so we'll do that later, hopefully. Tried my hand at the Oslo stitch. That one didn't work so well. So if you guys know how to do that one, know of any good tutorials, send them my way, because I failed miserably at that one. But I am really definitely interested in learning how to do that one. Yeah, so that's kind of what's been going on with me here lately. And I hope that wasn't too much of a downer and too intense for the first 5 minutes of a podcast. So I just kind of wanted to get that out there so you know what's been going on with me. Excuse me, just ate dinner. It's not settling well, what's been going on with the podcast, and what's been going on with life. I do still post to Instagram. You can find me on Instagram as Gal Knits Yarn. You can find me on Ravelry as Gal Knits Yarn as well. You can also find me on Twitter as Gallialvia. And that name, if you haven't been here from the beginning, that name comes from back in the day when I played World of Warcraft. My very first character was Gallialvia, and so that in the world of gaming was how I was known, and so that is how a lot of people in the online community know me, as Gallialvia. So that's how Gal came about. So that's, if you ever see me out and about and you just want to say, hey gal, I will respond to that because I'm used to hearing gal. If you want to say, hey Chelsea, I will respond to that. I would love to see you guys. Please say hi. You know, Kitten and I are going to the DFW Fiber Convention again this year, and we're really excited to be doing that. And, you know, lost my train of thought. Sorry. Really excited to be doing that, and hope that we will see some of you there as well. So, well, let's just dive into this. I'm going to put my coffee down. Well, I'll start by what I'm wearing. So this is the Tealeaf cardigan by, hope you can't hear my dog barking, Tealeaf cardigan by Bristol Ivy. Let me stand up here. And this was before, and I still have, I was about to say, this is before I knew what I wanted from my ease, and I still don't quite know what I want for my ease as well, but this has a lot of ease to it. I'm a 51-inch bust, and this is like a 61.5-inch bust, I believe. Let me take a look at my notes here, sorry. 60.5-inch bust. So there's quite a bit of ease in the sweater. And it's the Tealeaf sweater, excuse me. Tealeaf sweater by Bristol Ivy. I used needles 4 and 5, US size 4 and 5, 3.5 millimeter and 3.75 millimeter. The yarn is Cloudborn Fiber Superwash Merino Worsted Twist in the Plum Heather colorway. So it is a 100% Superwash Merino wool. It has worn, because I've had this done for a couple of years now, it has worn remarkably well. There's a little bit of pilling that I need to take care of, but I wear this sweater all the time, and or at least in the winter, all the time. And yeah, it handles really well. I'm very pleased with it. So that's my first little thing, but say it's been done for a couple of years now, so nothing too fussy there. But my newest finished object is the Weekender by Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee Knits. And here's the front. And it is also in, or I'm sorry, not also in, this is in Patons worsted wool in the dark gray marl, and I used US sizes 8 and 9, which I believe is 5 and 5.5 millimeter needles. Yeah. So I did have a little bit of problems, and this is like a continuing problem that you will see throughout everything. I can't read patterns, which is so difficult to hear whenever you are a knitter. But I have a difficult time reading patterns in the fact that I misinterpret what a pattern says, or think I know better than a pattern says. Not really think I know better than a pattern says. I really misinterpret what the pattern says. And I think I understand, and really that's what I mean is I think I understand, so I think I know better. I think I understand, and I do it wrong anyway. And I had a couple of those little flub ups here in the Weekender, but I fixed it. I mean, you can't tell. It's fine. It's fine. I would totally do this sweater again. I would actually love to do this sweater again. It knit up fairly quick. It took me about 3 months to work on it, but I didn't work diligently on it. I had a couple of other projects that I was working on too. And I did put this away for probably about a month. So it took about 2 months, I would say. So it got done pretty quickly. Yeah. An easy knit. I would definitely recommend it to anybody who is interested in sweater knitting. It's a good way to start. So, Weekender. So let's talk about what I currently have on my needles that I am working on. We'll start here. This is the, I've just totally blanked on the name of this. Snuggle Cal. Snuggle is Real Cal. That finally came to me. And there's my notes. The Snuggle is Real Cal by Maxim. And it has a provisional cast on in it, so that's why you see this extra little pop of color down here. And I went ahead and did shorter than what the pattern called for here in the body of the outside. And because where I live does not need a lot around the neck typically. It's not very cold here in Oklahoma. So I went ahead and shortened the body of the cowl, and this is the inside of the cowl. And I think I had shown in a previous episode, I had done a different color. This was the original color I had picked. But there again, I had like misread the pattern or misinterpreted the pattern. And so I thought I needed to use a different weight of yarn. And so I changed over to a different weight of yarn here on the inside, and then realized when I had gotten probably 3 inches deep in it that I was using the wrong weight of yarn. So I had to pick up all my stitches back here at the beginning of the insides and rip it all out and start over again. So that's okay. So I've been working a little bit on this, as you can see. Made some headway, and I'm not holding it double. This is fingering. It calls for lace weight held double, and I'm just using fingering weight held single. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people hold it double with not cashmere, mohair. Oh goodness. Yeah, and I think that would be wonderful. I just didn't have any available to me at the time. So I'm just doing it single. And all of this is yarn that I've dyed up. This one is a cashmere base. So it's really super soft and I love it, which makes me a little sad that it's not going to be actually snuggled up to my neck. It's going to be on the outside, but that's okay because this isn't too bad. It's just a sock yarn. So anyway, this one I am using US size 8, which is a 5mm needle. And they're just on my Chow Goose. All of my needles, not all of them, but most of my needles that you'll see will be on my Chow Goose because that's just my needles of preference. So, and I'm going to try to remember to move my stitch markers. I'll have a stitch marker for me and a stitch marker for the podcast because I knit so slowly, you guys, that I'm not a fast knitter. That way you can see the progress that I've made from podcast to podcast, but I also need to see the little amounts of progress that I make from session to session. So I'll need a progress keeper for myself as well. So if you see a couple of progress keepers on a project, that's why. But I'll point out which is which from the next podcast on out. So the next project that I have on my needles is an MKAL hosted by Cozy Up Knits, which was actually hosted back at the beginning of the year, back in January, and I just kind of fell off the wagon. It has lace in it, and I'm not a big lace knitter. I enjoy lace, but I have to be in the mood for lace. So it's one that I fell off the wagon on. I've been kind of in the mood to pick it back up again, so that's why I'm saying I'm working on it still, even though I haven't really been working on it of late. So it is in 3 parts, and I am on the second part. Oops. Here is the front or the back? I don't know that it really matters. Here is the first part, and this is done in Hedgehog Fibres Oracle, which is the gray, this right here, and then Spell, which is the purple, also in Hedgehog Fibres, which is the sock base. Both of them are on the sock base. and I am using US size, I believe it's 6. Yes, which is 4.0 millimeter needles. Here is which you can see I definitely have been using my lifelines. Yeah, I think this is the front. This is the front. So, yeah, lifelines have been my friend in lace. And I just use floss, dental floss for my lifelines. I find that to be the easiest for me. But that is, again, by Cozy Up Knits. They are a podcast of sisters out of Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. So go check them out. The next project that I have on my needles, many of you will be familiar with. It is the Featherweight cardigan by Hannah Fettig. Sorry, that just completely slipped my mind. Gauge is a US size 6 needle, which is a... I don't have that one written down, but I ended up using a 4 to meet gauge, US size 4, which is a 3.5 millimeter needle. And here is where I am so far on that. Now I am doing a 52-inch bust. And again, I'm a 51-inch bust, so I'm not giving myself a lot of positive ease, but I think I like them a little bit more fitted. We'll see if I end up keeping with that thought. The yarn is a sock yarn. It's a 75-25 base, and it is one that I hand dyed. I am alternating skeins, so I actually have 4 skeins that I'm using. I've got more if I need to, but I've actually got 4 skeins that I'm using that I'll be alternating throughout this cardigan. So, but Kitten's done a few of these, so you've seen these before, and I'm sure everybody is familiar with the cardigan. I think I had that backwards. I'm sorry. So I'm really excited about this knit. It's just because it's a fingering weight, it's taking me quite a while to knit up. So the last couple of days I've gotten a little bit bored and I've switched over to other things. So let's talk a little bit about those other things. So here is just a plain vanilla sock. I use a pattern by Lucy Neatby, which is the Simply sock. I think it's 329, excuse me. Simply Splendid sock 329, perfect sock by Lucy Neatby. And I use the size 3, or I am a size 3, and I use the needle size US 1, which is a 2.25 millimeter needle. This is the first sock of this set that I had finished. It is Hedgehog Fibres sock base in the Villain colorway. I just love this colorway. I think it's so much fun. So that's my first completed sock. And I'm on the heel flap right now of the second sock. So I started the heel flap this morning and got a little ways. So probably about halfway done the heel flap. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm really enjoying sock knitting now. Didn't think I would ever enjoy sock knitting. So seeing these sock blockers, my janky sock blockers, I'm hoping that at DFW Fiber Fest I will be able to get a set of like nice blockers, because what happens, let me show you. So this one's been worn a couple of times. It gets loose and it doesn't quite fit on the blocker anyway, because they're just a little too big for these blockers. The blockers are really too small. But yeah, it just, I don't know, it'd just be nice to have some nice ones. But this is the Malabrigo Primavera sock base that I was working on last time, I think. I am done with those socks and I've actually worn them a couple of times. I really enjoy wearing hand knit socks. It is just sheer joy to wear hand knit socks. So, and there is the Dudester scarf, which I am working on for my grandfather. And actually this is the front side. That's the back side. I am color blocking it because I didn't have enough of the red. I've got two skeins of the red. So this was one skein of it. And then I've got a lot of this gray. And then I'll put the second skein on the opposite end. That way we'll color block it. But I am having problems with this gray. I don't know if, because this was given to me, I don't know if moths have eaten this or if there was a factory problem with it, but I'll just be knitting along and then it'll be torn or sheared or just, it'll just not be together. So I have a lot of ends that I'm going to have to weave into the gray part of this, and I'm not really sure that I like that, but oh well, that's what we've got to deal with. So oh, and this is the Dudester scarf by Jana Pihota, and this is the needles are size 7, 4.5 millimeter. The red yarn is Patons wool worsted in Cognac heather. The gray is Lion's brand yarn, fisherman's wool. That's all it says. Lion's brand yarn, fisherman's wool. So that's the one that I'm having problems with. But there again, I don't know why I'm having problems with it. So, go figure. But yeah, it's knitting up a beautiful scarf for my grandfather. I absolutely love the patterning on it. And it's really a super simple pattern too. It's a free pattern, so go check it out if you're needing a scarf for the guy in your life or a guy in your life. Say this one's for my grandfather, so I would really like to get this one off my needles soon-ish. It was supposed to be a Christmas gift and that didn't happen. Another one that I have on my needles is the MKAL by Haley Geary. These are actually on my Knit Picks needles, which I think is because I didn't have needles available at the time in this size, which they are US size 8 and 9, 5 and 5.5 millimeter needles. Sorry, I'm like holding this down like you can see it. Those little alien heads. I haven't really worked on this one in a while, and I'd like to pick it back up just because there is a pattern that I'm wanting to do for my husband this summer. It's for Fox's Sake by Maxim, which is cute. It's got little foxes all over them. I swear I'm not cursing. It's got little foxes all over the cowl, or all over the neckline, and yoke. That's the word I'm looking for, yoke. And yeah, it'll just, I need to get better at my color work before I get into something as intense as that, because I need to get better at my color work. The other thing that I've been working on is something new. It is called the Cygnus Shawl by Kitten Knittin, perhaps. I don't have much of it done. There again, it's lace, so I definitely have to be in the mood to work on it. And this is, I'm using US size 7 needles, which is 4.5 millimeters. One of these days I'll have that memorized. I swear I will. And this is in the Wool Addicts Love by Lang Yarns. And I believe this is in the moss colorway. It doesn't actually say on here what colorway this is, so I believe it is moss. And this is 92% virgin wool, 8% polyamide. So it's just absolutely gorgeous wool to work with. So let's also talk about the Northeasterly by Skenanigans. Speaking of Skenanigans, my skeins are tied up. I don't have much done. It's been a long time since I've worked on it. It's probably something that I should put in hibernation. My socks have kind of taken over the place of maybe knitting on this. I don't know that for sure though, but I would kind of like to knit on this again. So it uses a US size 2, which I think is a 2.5 millimeter. 2.75 millimeter needle, and I'm just using random bits of fingering weight yarn that I have. I am using the fingering weight version of, or knitting the fingering weight version of this pattern. So something that I want to bring out of hibernation here pretty soon actually is the Breezy by Kristen Omdahl. And I don't even have needles on this guy. But it is in 100% cotton in Kristen Omdahl's yarns. Be So Tender is the base. Say it's 100% cotton. It's a thick and thin. And the colorways are Cobalt, Lagoon, and Ultraviolet. This was a knit crate that I got a couple of years ago. And I think it would be great to wear this spring. And I just need to sit down and work on it. I've got quite a bit done. I just need to figure out where I am in the pattern and how many rows are left. But it's a super simple knit, and I think I really enjoyed it when I was working on it. So I want to pull it back out and really get going on it again. I use US size 10s, which are 6.0 millimeter needles. And yeah, I gotta pull those needles back out because apparently I took them off for some reason or another. So the joys of using a camera that isn't yours is that you don't know where things were when things turn off. So I hope that this frame is still around the same place that it was last time. Sorry about that, guys. So now let's talk about things that are definitely not works in progress that we need to kind of get back into the groove of, and why they're not works in progress. So the first one is the Nurtured by Andrea Mowry. I think I was a size 5 or 6. I'm not really sure what size I was. I'll have to look back at my pattern and see what I have written down. This was just me looking at my notes in Ravelry and not really having written them down right. So I have part of a sleeve, and that's all I got to on this one. I was not finding the knit very inspiring. It just wasn't really speaking to me. So I kind of shoved it to the side for another project and another project and another project. I have definitely gotten a little bit better about being more of a project knitter and less of a process knitter. I look forward to finishing projects now just because I don't want to have so many projects on my needles, I think is part of it. And just to say that I have finished a project is part of it. But I'm allowing myself to get less distracted by so many projects at the same time. So, yeah, but this is in... Notes are good. When you can find them. This is in Cloudborn Fibres Superwash Merino Worsted Twist Splash in Atlantic Ocean colorway. There again, this is 100% Superwash Merino. I use a US size 9, which is a 5.5 millimeter needle for this. These are Knitpick needles as well. These are not my Chagus. Yeah, say just uninspired. And I don't like crops, so it would definitely have to be a longer longer body length for me. Which, going back to you guys' words, I'm so sorry, I'm really having trouble. Going back to the Weekender, the body calls for a certain number of inches, which I did. And when I put it on, however, it's short on me, and I'm short-waisted. And I don't think it's meant to be a crop or anything like that. So I'm not really sure if I just wanted it to be longer, or I don't know. My husband assured me that no, if it were going to be longer, it would look frumpy. But it just feels like I need frumpy. So I don't know. But anyway, I digress. The next one I have here is the Crosshatch by Cassandra Rizzardi. And I really actually like this hat a lot. The problem was, there again, I misread the pattern. And I didn't do what I should have done, essentially. So I've got to go back and basically rip out the whole thing and start over again. And I just haven't really wanted to do that. Haven't really been interested in doing that. I absolutely love this colorway. This is by Lambstrings Yarn in her Tralala sock base, and the colorway is Mermania. But I love that colorway. Absolutely love it. So yeah, that is my uninspired. All these are going to be, well, not all of these. A lot of these are going to be uninspired. So I need your opinion on something. I had cast on the Everyday Sachi beanie by Dragon Horde Yarns and Dragon Horde Designs, and in this colorway held double with this. But I was thinking, now that I have access to and you wouldn't have known this because I haven't mentioned it yet. I have a couple of skeins of mohair that I can dye up. Should I dye up some gray? Like some gray or something like that to match with this. Or at least match better. Because that's not the same color gray, but there is a gray in here that I can match with it. Should I do that and match up some gray that would match up a little bit better? Because I don't know that this, it's kind of a blue. It's like a blue pinky. It was forced. So anyway, what are your thoughts? So next we have the Knit Night by Debbie Stone. And I cast this on in US size 4, 3.5 millimeter needles. And this is in the WIP Yarns Sock Rock base in Out of This World colorway, which I love the yarn, it's fun. But there's a pattern in this shawl that you can't see in this yarn, and it was one of those deals that when I cast this on, I was just using what I had and I wanted to cast it on, and it was very forced. There again, just very forced. And I've been so removed from it because it's been probably 2 years since I've worked on this. I don't have a clue where I am on this pattern. I'm sure I could figure it out, but yeah, I'm kind of thinking about just ripping it out and using this for socks or something like that. What do you think? So then there is the ever famous Shusui Shrug by Suzanne Summers. Summer? Suzanne Summer. And it's a fun knit. You know, you got some brioche in there and everything like that. But you guys, you know what I just realized today, because I was writing down all of the sizes that I had to have in my notes. The size for this one is a 46 to 48 bust. I am a 51 bust. It's got a negative ease. It's not supposed to have a negative ease. So I don't know what to do. Should I keep going on this? Should I pull the yarn out and do something else with the yarn? I don't really know. I'm at a loss for what I should do with this. But yeah, I totally didn't realize what it was until today. So it is in the Colorways by Leon Alexander Yarns, in Parisian Jardin and Pink Lady. And then I also have, it's in his sock base. I also have a third color in his air base, which is a single ply base. And it is Golden Prosperity is that colorway, which will be an I-cord edging at the bottom, or around the edging. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do with this now. Whoops. Showing everything here. But yeah, I don't know what to do. Let me know what you think. So then there is A Girl's Best Friend by Isabel Kramer. And I actually really love this knit. I just kind of put it away because I got bored with it, but I really loved it while I was working on it. So I think it's probably about time to get it out again, but the problem is the colors don't speak to me anymore. There again, I was using what I had on hand. They're bright, they're flamboyant, they're just not really something I'm into. The purple and the yellow are single ply, and the green is a sock. I dyed all of these, so yeah. I am knitting this on a US size 2.5 3.0 millimeter needle. And last but never least, we have the Flax Light. And I think I've mentioned this in the previous episodes. I was working on the XXL size, but it just kind of kept growing and growing and growing because I didn't read my pattern and was increasing every row instead of every other row. So there. So yeah, it is in the Knit Picks Capretta Superwash in Angelite Heather. It is an 80% merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon base. It is so squishy and soft, and I love it. I really enjoyed this knit while I was working on it. I must have, because I just kind of kept going on it, but yeah, anyway, I gotta rip it out and start it over again. So that is the end of my mess of projects. You have seen the ones that I'm working on, the ones that I'm not working on, and I would be interested in your feedback to hear what you think about the ones, particularly the ones that I'm not working on, what you think I should do with those, if I should just leave them be for now until inspiration strikes, if I should rip them out and start over again with something else, or, you know, what are your thoughts? So let's talk real quick about some things that I am wanting to knit, hopefully in the upcoming future. Obviously I already have a lot that are on my needles, but we can all dream, right? So the first is going to be the Felix Pullover by Amy Christoffers. I already have some yarn on the way for that. It is some Let Lopi in the Milky Way colorway, I believe is what it's called. So yeah, I'm excited for that. The next is the Pebble Tunic by Joji Locatelli. And I actually have a few on here by Joji Locatelli, so I'll go through all of those real quick. The Pebble Tunic by Joji Locatelli. I have some yarn that I purchased to dye up for this that I'm really hoping to get started on. It is a silk merino mix that it's a DK weight that I'm really excited to work with, that we'll see. The next is Like a Cloud by Joji Locatelli. I know I've talked about this before, but I really want to get this one casted on. Some of you have noticed this is Surus by Joji Locatelli. This is in the newest issue of Pom magazine, Pom magazine. It is a beautiful, and I'll put pictures of all of these up here too. It is a beautiful sweater with like mohair and, or is it cashmere? I can't recall, but it is beautiful. I also am interested in making the Tamdo by Melanie Berg. I think it's really interesting, and I have some yarn that I could dye for that I think would just be gorgeous to put in that. I bought some yarn. Well, I had some yarn. The yarn went away. So I bought some yarn. This is Hedgehog fiber in the sock base, which is in the Zenith colorway. And also Shibui knits in the Silk Cloud in the ash colorway. And this I bought 2 skeins of each of these for the Birds of a Feather by Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee Knits. I'm super excited about this because this will be just gorgeous when it's done. I'm into yellows right now, but there is also the Indulgence Bed Jacket by Amanda M. Williams that I have dyed up some yarn for, some kid silk, and this is a alpaca blend, but I'm super excited to make this one as well. This was in the Needles and Artifice book, which I actually own the book, so I've got the pattern for, and I've been eyeing this. I owned this book before I could even knit, so I've been eyeing this pattern for years and just finally got around to getting the yarn to do it. But I dyed this yarn for it, and I'm super excited to get this going at some point in the near future. I also dyed up some yarn. This is the dye up, not this one, but dyed up some yarn maybe for the Love Note by Tin Can Knits. Maybe, we'll see. But that's my thought, is for the Love Note by Tin Can Knits. My husband asked me to make him some socks. I let him go through my somewhat sparse fingering weight collection of sock yarn, and a lot of it is like pinks and purples and such, and he came up with the green, and that's kind of blowing out, and asked it to be paired with the black, and I dyed up the black for him. So yeah, anyway, so the green will be the cuff, toe, and heel, and the black will be the body of the sock. So I don't have his measurements yet, but after I get done with the villain socks, I'll do that for him. And also I am hoping to do the For Fox's Sake by Maxim for my husband as well. I have some yarn picked out by Knit Picks that I'm planning on getting for him. So that'll be exciting. We have a knit group in a local town here that is going to have a colorwork sweater knit along that I'm planning on casting that on for here this summer. So that'll be exciting to do that. So real quick, did some spinning, and I also want to do the Throwback by Andrea Mowry. So I've been doing a lot of this purple. I'm sure you've seen some of this purple before. I was hoping to do some of this orange in some of the stripes, but I don't have enough of it, unfortunately. So the orange will have to not be part of it. But yeah, anyway, it's exciting. So thank you so much for joining us today on Gal and Kitten Knittin'. I hope that you found what you were looking for today and will continue to come back and see us again in the near future. If you happen to like us, give us a like or subscribe to our channel. We would love to see you back, or I would love to see you back too. If it's just me. But thank you so much. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for always coming back and for all of your patience. And, you know, we love to have you here. So thank you. And we look forward to seeing you again soon. Happy knitting.